And hello over there. Gosh. I don't think we're there. You full bars. Are we back? Oh my gosh, I think we're back.
We're back on.
Hopefully our connection stays. This cell service in general has been strangely bad for a world-class city recently. Anyways, yeah, so we were at the protest downtown Toronto yesterday, part of a global protest. For those of you who didn't know, this was coordinated with cities around the world. Really, really great turnout. So you can see, I've shared some of it on my Instagram, and really, really good to see so many people across the planet coordinating, and such a nice turnout in Toronto. I mean, I want more, don't get me wrong, but thousands of people, about 3,000 people, I would say, maybe more, walking through the streets of downtown Toronto was a beautiful thing.
Lots of people in cars supporting as well.
Yes.
A lot of support.
Yeah, people are in their vehicles, maskless and ready to go. So it was nice to see all that support. Very interesting. The mainstream media had zero presence at an event where 3,000 maskless people paraded through the heart of downtown Toronto. So, what does that tell you? Yes, I know 3,000 people is good. I was happy.
Yeah.
I saw estimates of 3,500 as well. So, it's interesting because you think of that number of people walking past all walking past major media, actual buildings. Like, there's no way that CBC downtown Toronto and Global News downtown Toronto had no awareness of this massive event occurring. And isn't it their job to cover events like this? Very interesting.
Yep.
Because we checked the news, there was nothing about Toronto. So, I don't know, what was your biggest takeaway, Amanda?
It was the kids. It was a lot to do with, and we've been aware of how it's been harming the kids, but seeing the kids around that many unmasked people, it just hasn't happened in a year. And so their response was just incredible. Like, you could tell, like, their brain development, their interactions, their empathy.
Yeah, you
so
saw how it
much.
impacted them. Absolutely. It was really amazing to see. Yeah. No, it was so
It was
good.
really beautiful. It was so nice, and everything was peaceful. It was a really, actually, surprisingly relaxed vibe.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
Because you always have, anytime a large group of people get together, can get rowdy no matter what the cause. And so it was really impressive.
Yeah.
I've been to a bunch of protests before, and these are some of the more peaceful ones that I've ever seen.
Yes,
So,
it was such a peaceful, uplifting experience, really.
and the Toronto police just didn't manhandle anyone or attack anyone like they
Yes.
had been doing for a little bit, not too long ago. So
Yeah, they had a big
they
campaign
were-
of fear and intimidation where some people were assaulted. Some media were kicked out, like Rebel News was kicked out while CBC was allowed to stay. So they were picking and choosing which media were allowed at protests. They were doing some things that were fairly corrupt, but it seems like, I don't know, someone up top has said to back off because it was very peaceful. It was lovely.
Yeah. So, and I know that they might not have been allowing people to get wind of it because there were a lot of people that didn't know this was even happening.
Yeah,
And so there may be some suppression on that level because
there must have been.
usually you hear when protests are happening and there's a big awareness around it, so perhaps something like that. But regardless, there were enough people that cared to look and dig for the information to find it and want to be out there.
And it was great to see,
And,
too, just the reaction of the community around as we were walking through the streets and seeing the people, one moment that was really stark for me was all the people lined up for chicken at, a Chick-fil-A. And it was just a lineup of people, masked, waiting for chicken, and they're watching 3,000 unmasked people walk by. And, there's no getting around the impact of that, really. That's pretty stark. So it was really interesting to see. It was interesting to see an actual moment where someone yelled, "Take off your mask," to a group of people, and someone really did remove their mask. Very symbolic. It was like a very iconic thing to see.
It was so
It's
great.
It's
to have
still
the
in
kids,
slow motion in my mind.
Yeah.
The kids, yeah.
Yeah, it was great to have the kids experience it. And Asher really wanted to go.
Because he really wants to help end the lockdowns. He was really all about the cause.
Yeah. anything to help end the lockdowns, he said. So,
Yeah. Very beautiful.
It was great to have them there. And Idris yelling freedom. That was...
That was very good. I'll cherish that.
That was my favorite moment.
Freedom. And then so also we wanted to touch on a couple other things uniquely Canadian. I don't know how many of you know about Peter Nygard, but he was the fashion mogul that was arrested for massive pedophilia and sex trafficking. Really, really horrific stuff. I've got a couple reels and like a video on it on my Instagram, and check it out. Really, the point of it is that he's an example of like all the most conspiratorial things. He was, trafficking children and like taking abortions and using them to make himself youthful and like farming the abortions through sex abuse. Really, really, really dark stuff. Now, there is a documentary out about this, and it's created by Chris Hansen, who's the host of To Catch a Predator. And so this is a huge project. It's taken him years to put this together and to show the actual story of this man's abuse. A lot of people call Peter Nygard the Epstein of Canada. He's really on that level. So what's insane to me is that we don't have access to that documentary in Canada. So currently, it's only accessible to people in America, as far as I can tell. And I think that's very, very telling. Why Canadians don't have access to the biggest documentary on the most prolific, criminal of this kind in Canada. And I think we should fight to get it accessed in Canada. I think it's crucial that Canadians know that, something that the media is saying over and over again is so conspiratorial. There are no like massive elite organizations that traffic children, that consume children literally, and this is an example of that. And so I think people need to see these examples for themselves, that this is not only in America with Epstein, but there's another high-level thing just like that going on in Canada.
And he had a lot of the sort of shrines and the different...
He has a Mayan temple, like a mock Mayan temple that was a sacrificial temple. Peter Nygard, this is on his property. So, you'd have to fight yourself to not theorize conspiratorially, to know that this man has been arrested. He's in jail for farming abortions and using it to make himself younger into like a serum. Weird, crazy stuff. That this really did happen. He's already in jail. This is the truth of it. And, I think people really need to know about this. So, I personally want to fight to get this streamable in Canada, and let people understand that, those of us who have been fighting to get information like this exposed, who are being shamed as like vile conspiracy theorists, or who are being ostracized and all these things, it's really truly happening and being exposed, but people need to share it because it's not being properly highlighted due to the fact that it perfectly contradicts the mainstream narrative that's being pumped out right now. And a lot of that being connected to, the 17th letter of the alphabet and that alleged insane belief system that often does talk about elite pedophilia and all these things that Peter Nygard was doing, and not by himself. Again, this is someone who threw massive Hollywood parties that he called pamper parties, okay, where he brought young girls in and he would pamper them. And then there would be some that would be chosen that would be pulled into his operation. And everything, of course, after that would happen against their will. So that's how this man operated. With the help of government officials that he paid off. I mean, this is all in this documentary, and this is all in his case. That's why he's sitting withering away in a jail in Winnipeg. In a prison, rather. So, I just want to put the word out there for that and get people who aren't in Canada, please, if you're in America, watch Unseemly. Send it to me, please. God, I just want to see it. God, so frustrating. But yeah, spread the word on that. Chris Hansen is some sort of superhero. It's amazing, everything that he's done. And I'll share a link to the interview in the comments. But he did a great interview with these comedians on, I can't remember what that was called. Anyways, it's so good. I'll share it. And it's really awesome because they go through. He was actually working on a case against Epstein and some content against Epstein, and it just never materialized. But really, really interesting stuff, what he's been through. And then there was
the dad.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
We don't. Well, he can't say his name.
You're not allowed to say this man's name. Okay, so this is really brutal. Hi, Laura. Nice to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Aha, Cosmic Origins. I hope it's both of you beautiful people. So we wanted to talk about this dad in BC because really, like, his story is the epitome of the kind of warfare that's being launched against, children and families, and this whole gender warfare and all this. So there's a dad in Canada who had his child in the public schooling system, and the child was identified by the school as being, transgendered in some way. And without the parents' knowledge, this child was then sent to an expert whose job it is to psychologically transition children across genders into new genders. And then whose recommendation after seeing this child was hormone therapy, was testosterone therapy. And so this all got arranged and lined up through the school without the parents' knowledge or consent. And of course, it became a slippery slope from there because then that was already happening. That was, I know. I don't know why that's a job, to transition children psychologically across genders. That's like, I assume this person is an actual Nazi hidden in our society or something like really covert and messed up. So anyways, basically it became a slippery slope, and the parents tried to fight it and lost in court, and were told that they had no choice, that they had to allow this to happen to their child. And when the dad continued to speak out and fight against it, he broke Canadian law by calling his daughter, who's supposed to be now his son, his daughter, and saying that his child is female. And so what they've done is they've used the change of the laws here in Canada. They changed Bill C-17 to include all these gender pronouns, that whole slippery slope, into the law, so that anytime you go against any of that with your speech, it's hate speech. They can call it violence. And they're now saying that it's violence in the family for this dad, who's like, you can't even refer to him. And the best place to see about this, go to Rebel News, rebelnews.ca or .com, and check it out. They can't even say his name in the content, in the piece that they've done about him.
They have to blur his face.
They have to blur his face and give him it was his initials or something, or something totally different, because the censorship is so extreme on this story. It's really crazy what they've legally done here. This is in 2015, they made a change to Canadian law, and Jordan Peterson was a major advocate speaking out against this, saying that what you're doing here is you're allowing the government to compel speech, that if people use gender pronouns inappropriately, in a way that the law deems inappropriate, that it can be classified as hate speech. And Jordan Peterson warned against this very thing, saying that this is going to allow the government to compel speech, which means the government can then compel thought. And now we're here. A dad can't speak out against the transitioning of his daughter. This is like a 13-year-old child.
And now he's in jail.
And now he's in jail.
Days,
yep.
Because he won't stop speaking out, and there are other things involved. But
he won't stop speaking his truth.
They're holding him for 5 days until some court hearing. And
yeah, exactly. So it's pretty incredible, and now it's very tragic because he feels he's lost his daughter at this point. This is beyond return now, because the damage from this length of time being on the testosterone therapy is irreversible now. And so as the father sort of describes, his child's bone density will never grow. So this child will forever have the bone density that they had when they got those injections. And there will always be like a lowered voice. There will always be facial hair that has to be shaved now. There's, a lot of things that just won't change now ever for this child. So the movement into adulthood really won't be biologically a movement into adulthood. It's something totally strange and bizarre and really unprecedented. So his whole mission now is to try to get the word out to protect other parents, especially in Canada, where the laws in 2015 were changed specifically to allow this kind of intervention. And this is communism in the deepest way, right? This is the state being able to replace the parent. This is it, crystallized. It's a very, very, very clear example of this. It's parents not having a say in their child's body, their child's mental health, their child's entire development. A 13-year-old, a 13-year-old does not have the maturity to contextualize this. And, a 13-year-old hasn't even really sorted themselves out sexually and all of that yet. It's not a finished process. And so to say that it's against all the existing science. It takes a lot longer than that to really sort all of those things out. People are in university still figuring out their sexuality, and this goes on. People go back and forth. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to do that to a child at that phase, and to use any kind of sense that they're having that they may be one thing and not another as an excuse to intervene so violently in their development as a human being. It's utterly inappropriate. It's very wrong. Anyways,
Yeah.
it's important. It's important that people know about this, and it's important that people understand that the exact thing that people warned about when the bill was changed in 2015 here in Canada is occurring. It is occurring, and we need to make sure it doesn't. So, I think that's super, super important. But all of this is to say that, I feel like more of an awakening is brewing in Canada. I think things are, pretty intense here in terms of like lockdown, like inappropriately strange compared to a lot of places in the world. They're going against a lot of data and experts in other places in the world, especially here in Ontario.
Yeah.
But I think this is a catalyst for people to wake up because, the world is watching, everyone sees what's going on. So, I do feel hopeful, having been at the protest and having stood with so many people, maskless, in public, being okay, not being a COVID cloud moving through the city, whatever cartoonish notion of science people have, but very hopeful, very uplifting, very good to connect the kids to it, and very good to know that this is something that happens regularly in Toronto, that people are holding the line, and they're holding that physical space regularly, and it's very exciting. So so we figured we'd have this quick little live here down by the lake today, get by the water a little bit, and that's it. I think we're going to keep it pretty short. Anything else you want to add today?
I don't think so. Yeah.
You gave me a blend before we started. What was it?
This blend. It's frankincense, rosemary, ylang ylang, and patchouli. I've been using it quite a bit.
It was very good. It was very uplifting.
It's helping me balance between the I want to fight this, and this is upsetting, and or dig deep or get into a rabbit hole about something, and then, the flip side of this is meaningful for other reasons. Yes, it's traumatizing and it's abusive, but then there's the other side, the mystical,
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm using it a lot.
It's good, man. It's good to hold that flip side of things,
The balance between what's in our tangible reality and then what's in the mystical, it's both.
Well, that's so important too, because the two are very contrasting right now. There's so much chaos and insanity in the world, and people are also working very hard to find spiritual grounding in that. And so we do need to find those bridges.
Yeah.
Amidst the chaos, the actual chaos that we have to confront daily now. Unavoidable, beautiful chaos. Thank you, chaos, for teaching me.
So fun.
Yes, it's lovely.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's it. We're
Thanks
gonna
for
keep it
joining
short
us.
today, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, beautiful friends who joined us. We're happy to have you with us, and we'll talk to you guys on the internets very soon.
All right.
Bye, everyone.